First Floor with Sean Ronaldo on Red Bull Radio.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of First Floor. I'm your host, Sean Ronaldo. I'm a music journalist, a DJ. I used to run record labels and throw parties, but for the past 3 years, more than 3 years, actually, my main focus when it comes to electronic music is this radio program. It happens every Thursday. They give me 2 hours. I show up here and I play what I think is all of the best new electronic music of the week. However, in case you haven't caught the news, this little arrangement of First Floor, it's going to be over soon. In fact, if you count today's episode, there are only 3 episodes left of the show. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to be trying to finish things on a high note. And in that spirit, I've been trying to pull some favors and get some very special guests to join me on the program. Today, I'm going to be speaking with John Talabot. Like me, he lives in Barcelona. Unlike me, he is much more well-known in the world of electronic music. He's the head of the Hivern Discs label. We're going to ask him about what's up with his new album people have been waiting for forever. We're going to talk about his label. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So, John Talabot, that's coming up in just a little bit. Also on the way, lots and lots of brand new music. I have an exclusive premiere for you, something from Amato and Adriani, which is a collaboration between the hacker and Alessandro Adriani. Also, new tunes from artists like Anthony Naples, DJ Python, Upsammy, and a collaboration between Matrixxman and Physical Therapy. And if that's not enough for you, I also have new stuff from labels like Planet Moo, Whities, Dext, and A Strangely Isolated Place. So once again, we have a very full plate on today's show. Why don't we just dive in, shall we? We're actually starting off with something new from Call Super. I'm guessing you're familiar, but just in case that's a new name to you. He's an English artist based in Berlin. He's been putting out music for nearly a decade, and although he occasionally works under names like Elmo Crumb and Ondo Fudd, most of the time he works as Call Super. And under that name, he's mostly appeared on the Houndstooth label, although he's also popped up on labels like Dekmantel, Hessel Audio, and Noose. This week, he's appearing on another new imprint, Shanti Celeste's Peach Discs label. It's his first time on Peach Discs, and he's got this new 2-track 12-inch. What we're hearing right now is the B-side of that record. It's called All We Have Is Glue. Again, it's brand new stuff from Call Super. Getting us started today, you're listening to First Floor. a little bit of sorcery out of the Netherlands. This is something new from Upsammy, a young Dutch artist who I've played many times here on the show. She's based in Amsterdam, and it feels weird to say this, but she only started releasing music last year, but she already has a very impressive discography, records on Nuclear, Whities, and Orakel. Earlier this year, she also put out a mini album called Wild Chamber that was on Nuclear as well. And this week, she's heading back to Orakel with a new EP called Branches on Ice. And that's where you can find this track, which is entitled Bronze Goddess. Brand new stuff from Upsammy, an artist that I've had my eye on and will continue to have my eye on. She's just doing really cool stuff. My name's Sean Ronaldo. You're locked into First Floor. As I said before, it's a show that happens every Thursday. Still on the way today, I've got that exclusive premiere from Amato and Adriani, which is a collaboration between Alessandro Adriani of Mannequin Records and veteran French producer The Hacker. So stay tuned for that. Right now, though, we're going to hear something new out of the UK from a Welsh artist who goes by the name Leif. Now, he's a veteran DJ. He's perhaps best known as one of the resident DJs at the Free Rotation Festival, but he's also been releasing music for the past 15 years, and he has a really extensive discography that includes 2 albums and something like 24 EPs. This week, he's dropping his 3rd full-length album. It's called Loom Dream, and it's coming out on the Whities label. Now, this album, it's said to be a celebration of Mother Nature, and although it consists of 6 tracks, it's being presented as 2 17-ish minute-long pieces. So one 17-minute-long song on the A side, another 17-minute piece on the B side. It's an unusual way to present the record. I wish I could play all 17 minutes of one of the sides, but that's not going to be possible. I only have 2 hours. So what I've done is I've extracted one of the tunes. This one is called Rosa. Again, it's brand new music from Leif, some meditative sounds right here on First Floor.
Yo, this is DJ Python coming at you from my job in New Jersey, and this is Tímbrame from my new EP, Derretirse. It's out this week on Dekmantel. This track is funny because I really like the name, because it's a kind of a dated slang. So Tímbrame means like when you hit someone up on their cell phone, but then you hang up so that they call you back, so that you don't waste your minutes and they have to call you and use their minutes. Thank you.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you can count me as a believer in the deep reggaeton movement. Yes, I said deep reggaeton. And yes, when I first heard DJ Python describe his music in that way, I thought it was a joke. He's kind of a prankster, unique figure based in New York City. But the more I've listened to his music over the past few years, I realized that deep reggaeton, it makes a lot of sense as a descriptor. I mean, after all, a lot of DJ Python's music combines Latin rhythms with house and techno sounds. And this week, he has brought deep reggaeton to the Dekmantel label for the first time. He's got a new EP. It's called Derretirse, which is Spanish for to melt. And you may remember that a couple of weeks ago here on First Floor, we premiered a different track from the EP. That song was called PQCQ. You can still find it streaming over at the Red Bull Music Academy SoundCloud. But what we're hearing right now is a different tune. It's called Tímbrame, which is Spanish for Ring Me. Another quality effort from DJ Python. I definitely recommend grabbing the full EP. My name's Sean Ronaldo. You are locked in to First Floor, and we have arrived at the part of the program where I like to offer up an exclusive premiere And by that, I mean a song that has not been posted or shared anywhere else online. This week's premiere is something from Amato and Adriani, a collaboration between The Hacker and Alessandro Adriani. Now, The Hacker, he's a veteran French producer. On occasion, he operates under a different alias, Amato, and that's the name he's using here. Alessandro Adriani, he's Italian, originally from Rome, now based in Berlin. He heads up the Mannequin label, which is one of my favorites. Now, both of these guys, they've been guests on First Floor. I've played a lot of their music, so I don't want to go too deep into their backstory, but I can say that they have now teamed up for a collaborative EP. It's called Présence du Futur, and it's scheduled for release on June 24th via the Mannequin label. What we're hearing right now is the lead track. It's called Falling Inside, and if you like it, you can find it streaming in full right now at the RBMA SoundCloud. So you can check that out. Right now, though, let's just give it a listen here on the radio. The song Falling Inside, it's a premiere. New stuff from Amato and Adriani right here on First Floor.
Yo, this is Cooper Saver, and you're listening to my track Pacifico off of my new EP out this week on Biologic. A lot of people think I named this track after the brand of beer, but it's actually a reference to a mountain in the LA National Forest. Anyway, keep it locked, and thanks for listening.
On occasion, not a lot. I don't want to give you the impression that this happens all the time, but every once in a while, someone will ask me, Sean, why don't you ever make music? I mean, you've been DJing for a long time. You've been involved in electronic music a long time. You have decent taste. Don't you ever want to make some tracks of your own? And the answer for me is no. First of all, I realize that I don't have anything in the way of musical talent. I am not musically inclined in that direction. Number two, after being a journalist for so long, I feel like the entire electronic music world would love to tell me how terrible whatever music I make is, which, fair enough. But most of all, it's just, I prefer to stick in my own lane. I feel like what I do best is being a journalist, presenting on the radio, stuff like that. I mean, I've dabbled in labels and throwing parties, but being a journalist is arguably what I do best. So I'm just going to stay in my lane. However, that rule doesn't have to apply to everybody. There are people in the electronic music sphere who can wear a lot of different hats and do really good work. And one of those people is the author of this track. His name's Cooper Saver. He's from Los Angeles. He's a DJ, producer, and promoter. He runs a party called Far Away, along with a tape label of the same name. And over the past few years, he's been quietly stepping it up on the production front. He's done a bunch of remixes, and this year he's been unleashing a bunch of original material. He's already done records in 2019 on Permanent Vacation and International, and this week he's got another EP out on the Biologic label. I should mention, it does have some really great remixes on it from Khidja and Abstraction, but what we've been hearing is Cooper Saver himself. In fact, we've been hearing the title track of the new EP. It's called Pacifico. Quality work, brand new stuff there from Cooper Saver. My name's Sean Ronaldo. You are listening to First Floor. Don't forget that still on the way, an interview with John Talabot. Like me, he lives in Barcelona. He heads up the Hivern Discs label. I am dying to ask him when we can finally hear this new album that everyone's been waiting for. It's been a long time. So yes, stay tuned for that John Talabot interview, still on the way. Right now, though, we're going to take things in sort of an ambient direction with some music out of Germany from an artist who's based in Cologne. His name is Max Würden, and he's actually been making music since the late 80s. However, he's been specializing in ambient type sounds since the year 2000 or so. Basically, he's been in the game quite a long time. He's put out a lot of music. Perhaps you've seen him contributing to several of the recent pop ambient collections on Compact. This week, however, he's releasing a new album. It's called Format, and it's coming out via A Strangely Isolated Place, which has been doing some really great work on the ambient end of the electronic spectrum. The new album, it includes this song, Wirkungsgrad. Again, this is brand new stuff from Max Würden, right here on First Floor. I've been following Anthony Naples and his music since his very first record came out. It was back in 2012. Mr. Saturday Night was the label. And since then, he's done a lot of different stuff. And I like pretty much all of it. However, I was thinking, I still can't really describe what Anthony's music sounds like. I mean, you could call it house in the loosest sense of the word, but beyond that, I mean, some of his tracks have this kind of lo-fi fuzziness to them. Some are more delicate and melodic. Some are more chugging and almost techno-ish. You can't really put Anthony Naples in a box, and perhaps that's what makes him such an interesting artist. Now, if you're not familiar, he's originally from Florida, but during most of his career, he's been based in New York City. Aside from Mr. Saturday Night, he's also appeared on labels like Trilogy Tapes and Dext, and he's also headed up a couple of labels of his own. The first one was Prohibido, which is now over, and the second is Incienso, which he's still doing alongside his partner, Jenny Slattery. Earlier this year, you might remember that Anthony was a guest here on First Floor. We talked about an album that he did called Take Me With You, which was more of a chill outing on the Good Morning Tapes label. But now, this week, he's following it up with another album, one that's more aimed at the dance floor. It's called Fog FM, and it includes the song we just heard, I'll Follow You. Again, that was brand new stuff from Anthony Naples. My name's Sean Ronaldo. You are listening to First Floor, and you want to stick around because we still have lots of great new music on the way. I have a collaboration from Matrixxman and Physical Therapy, also new stuff from labels like Planet Moo. Right now, though, this is something out of the UK from a producer named Otik. Now, he's originally from Bristol, currently based in London. He's been releasing music since 2014, most notably on labels like Keysound, Dext, Noose, and Integrated. I've played a couple of his songs this year on the show, and I have to say, this guy is low-key one of my favorite producers right now. I don't know what it is, there's just something about the rhythms he's making that really speaks to me. And this week, he's returning to the Dext label with a new EP called Dioxide. Now, the record includes a remix of the title track by Bruce, and that's a really cool tune, but I wanted to play an Otik original. This song is called Tuskanary. Again, this is brand new stuff from Otik, an artist I've been watching. I would very much recommend that you start watching him too. Otik, the song Tuskanary. It's right here on First Floor. It's always interesting when an artist takes a huge stylistic left turn. Sometimes it goes really well, sometimes it goes really badly, and it can be a total car crash. Thankfully, in this case, it's gone really well. This is something from Konx-Om-Pax. Now, he's a Scottish producer, also a graphic designer, originally from Glasgow, now based in Berlin. He's been putting out music for the past decade, including a couple of albums on the Planet Mu label, and most of that past work was pretty dark, mostly ambient. But this week, he's dropped something that's very bright and colorful, and it sounds a lot more like dance music. It's a new album, once again on Planet Mu. It's called Ways of Seeing, and it includes the song we're hearing right now, which is called I'm For Real. The vocal bits on there were actually courtesy of another Glaswegian, Nightwave, who helped out on that song. Again, I'm For Real, brand new stuff from Konx-Om-Pax. This is First Floor. My name is Sean Ronaldo. Every Thursday, I show up here on Red Bull Radio, and I spend 2 hours highlighting what I think is all of the best new electronic music. Right now, even though we're technically a couple of minutes early, I'm just going to say that we have officially reached the halfway point of the show. And if you listen to First Floor on a regular basis or even a semi-regular basis, you probably already know that I always like to kick off hour number 2 with an interview. And as I've been mentioning all day long, today I'm going to be speaking with John Talabot, an artist out of Barcelona, head of the Hivern Discs label. I have a lot of questions to ask him, but before I get him to join me on the mic, I thought I should play something new from John Talabot. This is from a new edition of the Hivern Discs Split series. It comes out this week. It has one track from John Talabot, also another track from Khidja. This is the John Talabot entry. It's called Immediate Crash Alert. Let's give it a listen, and then John Talabot will join me for a little chat right here on First Floor. This is First Floor. My name is Sean Ronaldo, and right now I want to welcome onto the show an artist who was born and raised right here in Barcelona. He's been releasing music for more than a decade and has been DJing a lot longer than that. Over the years, he's appeared on labels like Permanent Vacation and Young Turks, but he also heads up a successful label of his own called Hivern Discs. Aside from his solo work, he's also done collaborations with the likes of Axel Bowman, Pional, Doris Berg, and fellow Barcelona native Marc Pignol. This week, he's got a new track on the latest installment of Hivern Discs Split series, which also features a new song from Khidja. And today, he's joining me for an interview. I've wanted to have him on the show for a very long time. Let me say hello to John Talabot.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks.
So there's a lot of things we can talk about, but I want to get to one of the most obvious and maybe one of the most annoying topics right off the bat. Your first album, Fiend, came out in 2012. It was a big hit. You wound up touring with the XX, and it sort of took you to the next level of your career. Since then, you've released tracks here and there, but you haven't put out a new album, and I think a lot of people want to know, like, where is the next full length?
It's gonna be next year for sure, but I've been saying that for 5 years, so I don't know if I'm really credible right now. But I think I'm getting to the point that I'm finishing and having a solid piece of work that I'm happy with.
Why do you think this new album has taken you so long to put together?
Laziness? No, it's just like I've been working a lot. Actually, I have like maybe 100 songs. But the thing is that like I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been learning a lot of stuff. I did an album with Axel. I released some tracks. I did some collaborations to be released. I've been working in the label a lot. Like we did a lot of releases during these years. And now we have a solid catalog and a really good, like, I don't know how to say it, but like artists around that we are really happy with, and in a environment that we feel like really happy to work and safe and creative and full. And that's taken a while. It's just like things mutated. And I don't think I have so much to say in 2 years after my album. I think it's more interesting to say it now than 2 years or 3 years after the album. Maybe it's against the market, that's another thing, but I'm not acting because of a market. I'm just doing music and releasing music when I am ready to.
You've said before in interviews that you never expected Fiend to be a big success. So in retrospect, I feel like that album probably totally changed your life in the end. So knowing that, do you feel any pressure that the new album has to be this incredible record?
No, because I think it's way better. And just time passed enough that I don't think so much people remembers Fiend. And I think that doesn't have anything to do with it. But at the same, it's connected to Fiend because it's me.
Well, I know it's really early and the album's not all the way done yet, but can you tell us anything about it? Like, what is it about, or what it's going to sound like, or anything you can share?
It's at the beginning when I started the album, I had like a clear concept. And at the end, I keep doing music thinking for the album and keep adding things and trying to find a track list. And at the end, like, I'm not sure if there is a concept or not, or it's just like a nice collection of tracks that I'm really happy with. And at the same time, it has a connection with Finn in the same way that you don't know what's going to happen in the next track.
Well, I do feel a bit bad asking you all these questions about where is the album, because you have been releasing music over the last 7 years. The collaborations, you've put out original music, you've done a lot of remixes. And one thing I've noticed is that since the album came out, you've really embraced sort of longer tracks. I feel like a lot of John Talabot productions, whether it's original or remix, they'll be like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, even 10 minutes long. And I was wondering, what draws you to that kind of song structure?
It's just maybe because that's what I like to play, and that's related to the kind of club tracks that I embrace. I mean, it just, I feel like electronic music in its sense is quite minimal, and you embrace any kind of small change that it happens. I mean, you can listen to a loop for 10 minutes and then something happens really tiny and it changed the world. And that kind of perception, it always like, it's been so interesting to me. But at the same time, the album, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's really short tracks. Some of them, they ended the track list, but they were sketches at the beginning and they grew on me. Also, it's been very interesting how this album, it mutated in me, that, like the perception of the stuff, it changed completely. And some tracks that they were for sure in the album, they ended just out of it.
I also wanted to ask you a bit more about the collaborations you've done. I mean, you did the whole album with Axel Bowman for the Talabot project. You've done stuff with Pional, with Dorisberg, with Mark Pignol, probably other people too. The music just hasn't been released yet. What makes collaborating such an appealing prospect for you?
It's like I always experience like the project of John Talabot as I have to like have people together and doing music. But I think like the proper John Talabot things come out when an album has to be released, something like that. And I really like to collaborate with people. And I think like that kind of happened that the John Talabot project became is way more interesting than just working by myself. And I enjoy a lot to work with other people. And it's been also a great experiment towards the album. It's just like, it's been really nice to work with a percussionist thinking in the album and ended doing a whole project about it. That's what happened in some way with a project I have. So it's been like really weird and also a bit unexpected. And I've been touring a lot DJing, and you know exactly where you're gonna be, what you're gonna do. It's like having these improvised sessions with artists and musicians are really rewarding.
When you're collaborating with someone and you're in the studio, do you always assume a certain role, or is it different for every collaboration?
Yeah, it's totally different. It depends about the project, it depends about the situation. With Axel, we worked together in every track we did. So everything we recorded and we finished and we sent to mix or to master was done when we were together. But with others, I've been finishing stuff that we recorded together, or they have been finishing stuff that we recorded together, and then we put it in common. It's just like every process is different. And what is true is just like everything that I've done with the collaborations, it was always not as an intention to be released, just to see how it worked. And if it worked nice, we finished like releasing it maybe 3 years later after.
This is First Floor. My name is Sean Ronaldo, and I've been speaking with John Talabot. This week, his label, Hivern Discs, has the latest installment of its Split series coming out, and that record includes a new tune from John Talabot himself. We're going to speak with him a bit more, but first I wanted to check out a different song that he had a hand in putting together. This is actually a John Talabot remix. Last year, the Romanian duo Khidja put out a remix EP on Hivern Discs, and it included 2 John Talabot remixes. What we're hearing right now is John Talabot's late remix. The song is called Haetrin. This track is nearly 9 minutes long, and yet I love every second of it. This is just one of those deliberate chuggers that can really do some damage on a dance floor. You wouldn't think so because it has kind of a slow pace, but I swear I've been playing this one a lot ever since it came out late last year. This is a John Talabot remix. It's the late remix of the song Haetrin, originally done by Khidja. It came out last year. You can find it on the Hivern Discs label. My name's Sean Ronaldo. You're listening to First Floor, and if you're just tuning in, I've actually been speaking with John Talabot, the man who remixed this song. He also heads up the Hivern Discs label. So I want to go ahead and ask him a few more questions. So John, we were talking before about your production, both solo and collaborative, but listening to this remix you did, it got me thinking more about your DJing, just because I've noticed that in the past few years, you've become very comfortable with slower tempos, things like 110, 115 BPM. And I was wondering, is there something in particular that you like about that speed?
Yeah, I mean, I like that speed because I feel comfortable like playing like that. But I mean, I would also be comfortable playing another kind of stuff. It's just like, for me, if you do an all-night set, I always felt like it's way more welcoming to have slower tempos in a room that it's empty than having like fast tempos, because at the end, like, there is way more space between the kick drum and the next kick drum, so you can appreciate a lot of more things that happens between these two kick drums. And I feel like the flow of a room that starts really slow, at the end, when people is used to it, it could be 140 or it could be 95, and it doesn't matter, because the perception of the tempo, it's a continuous thing that you lose track of it when you dance, especially.
I also want to ask you a bit about your label, Hivern Discs. Last year, it turned 10 years old, which you guys celebrated. You had a limited edition book, compilation EP that came with it.
Oh, we have a compilation now. Really big one.
Oh, well, has that not been announced yet?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, I want to ask you about that. But first, how did it feel to reach the decade mark? Like, did you ever think that Hivern Discs would go on that long?
I never made any plan of it. So it's just like, I think most of the people just do things and keep going. If they don't have any problem or issue, they would like to continue like the same. I mean, the label has never had a plan of reaching 10 years or reaching 5 or reaching 2. And actually, I explained that in the book. But last year, I was like, maybe we should finish this. And because at one point, I was like, maybe I should start another thing, or maybe I'm... But at the same time, a lot of artists just sent us stuff, and it was really good. And we had all this project of Hivern series that I really enjoyed doing. And some other projects came out. And I was like, wow, no, maybe I really want to continue. And at the end, for me, like, the label is more like a way to document. It's documenting what our friends are musically doing, just without any kind of idea of selling more, selling less, or being more hype. For me, it's like a document of what's going on musically around me and around our friends in this moment, and in last year, and 3 years ago, and 5 years ago. And I don't know, I like it like that.
One thing I think is really interesting about Hivern Discs is that you, aside from the main label, there's all these series. There's the 7-inch series, there's the 10-inch edit series, there's the Hivern X series that you mentioned that's more experimental. What's behind the decision to sort of divide the label up in that way?
I don't know. I think it's, as a collector of records, I've seen all my favorite records doing that. And I was like, maybe that's the idea of doing it, because I realized that some periods of time, these sub-labels were really active and then they stopped doing anything. And somehow I like it. I like that kind of moments, especially that maybe you receive like an incredible amount of music from one artist that it doesn't fit in your catalog, but you really want to release it in some way that it feels special, and you create a full label. Like at one point RNS did with Mike Dredd and the Atomic. They released like 9 releases about him. It's like, wow, just him and his label under this RNS kind of umbrella. It's just weird.
Do you know how many releases Hivern Discs has done? It's got to be approaching 100, right?
I don't know. I never counted them. But that's another thing, that the way you approach to quantity for me is not really interesting. It's just like, I don't know if we have 100 or not. I mean, I still remember more or less like everything we did, and it's nice because yesterday I was listening to a track that it was released like maybe 7 years ago. I was like, wow, I'm gonna play this again. It's so good. It's like things, they just change, and your perception of the records you put out are different, but I never take quantity as a way to measure your success of what you've done.
Well, even if you're not thinking about quantity, Hivern Discs does put out a lot of music, at least compared to some other labels. And I'm just wondering, how do you manage to put out a release every month or two while you're also making music and touring all the time as a DJ?
But because the label is not me, it's Danny and Alicia and Ignazi, and it's like I'm the person that works the last in the label. And we try to just make it work the best way we can with the resources we have.
Well, I definitely feel like you've been, intentional or not, like a really strong ambassador for Barcelona. And the label's always had a lot of Catalan artists, a lot of Spanish artists. Is that important for you to support your hometown and your home country in that way through the label?
No, not at all. I'm really not a flag person, and actually my country hasn't done anything for me or my label. So even when we asked for fundings, they rejected us, saying that we were not releasing too much local artists. I was like, oh, really? It's just like, okay. So at the end, we refused fundings because we were not ready to submit to what they wanted from us. But at the same time, I don't feel any ambassador of anything, and I don't want to feel that. I want to put out records from people that we like, work with people that we like. That's the most important thing. Never work with someone that you don't like, because at the end, it's not worth it. It's just even for money, it's just it's not worth it. So I'm really happy that we've been working with people that we like, and that we really appreciate everyone that we done stuff. Also some people they release with us and later they choose other paths and we were not so attached with it, and some artists they continue in a path that we feel comfortable, but at the end relationships more or less it's a nice thing with everyone, and I'm really happy with that.
Well, last question. I know we talked about the new album. You said hopefully that will come out next year, but can you tell us about anything else that you've got on the horizon, whether your own music, something on Hivern Discs, maybe that 10-year...
Yeah, we have a big compilation with a lot of artists and people that we've been enjoying music from and that we ask some collaborations with. It's like a 6-record thing that's going to be released every month, and it's going to be like a special edition that we always like to do. But it's a nice compilation and not so much playing music, maybe more chilled and nice, but also some techno tracks and stuff to play. It's a nice combination. And I think it reflects really good the moment we are, that we are not anywhere. We are just floating around, doing stuff. That it's for me, it's the most convenient way to be.
All right, so we're all going to keep an eye out for that compilation and, of course, for the new John Talabot album next year. In the meantime, he's contributed a track to the latest edition of Hivern Discs Split series. John Talabot, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks to you.
This is First Floor. My name is Sean Ronaldo, and you don't want to go anywhere. We still have half an hour left in today's program, and during that time, I've got a new collaboration to play for you from Matrixxman and Physical Therapy. I also got something new from Air Max 97, and if you're an old school Chicago house head, I'm going to pull something out of the vaults. You're going to be very happy to hear it. You just got to trust me. Stick around. Right now, though, let's hear one final selection from John Talabot. This is a song that came out last year. It was part of a Studio Barnhus compilation, which was simply called Studio Barnhus Volume 1. This, like I said, is music from John Talabot. The song is called The Change.
You talk about your dreams with your partner and your friends, but more often than not, you continue to do those same behaviors that keep you from making the change. lie awake at night. You talk about your dreams with your partner and your friends, but more often than not, you continue to do those same behaviors that keep you from making a change. The change. The change.
It's really too bad that the term new rave got ruined 10 years ago. Remember new rave? Bands like the Klaxons, lots of other indie guitar guys that were sort of futzing around with Hoover sounds and vague allusions to rave culture. And the press was totally complicit in running this idea of new rave into the ground. And it's too bad, because when I hear tracks like this one, this sounds like new rave, at least what new rave should be. In case you're curious, it's something new from Air Max 97. He's an artist who grew up in Australia, first made his name in Melbourne. In recent years, though, he's been something of a nomad. I mean, he spent time in Australia, but also Berlin and Mexico City. Now he's finally settled in London, and he's got this new EP out this week. It's on the Decisions label that he helps run. The new record is called Falling Not Walking, and it includes a couple of collaborations. One track with Loft, and this song, which is called Paroxysm, which is a joint effort with TSVI, another artist that could be described as new rave, but new rave in a good way. Anyways, Air Max 97 with TSVI, really liking this tune, Paroxysm. It's right here on First Floor. My name is Sean Ronaldo, and right now we're going to hear another collaboration. This is something I have been mentioning all day. It's a joint effort between Matrixxman and Physical Therapy, two American producers who started working together when they were both living in Berlin. Now, Matrixxman still lives in Berlin. Physical Therapy is now in New York City. You might remember that Physical Therapy was a guest here on First Floor last month. He just put out a new album of sorts called It Takes a Village. And during our interview, he mentioned that he had a forthcoming collaboration with Matrixxman. And as it turns out, that record was only a few weeks away. It's out now. It's called Threads, and the EP is available on Bodica's Nonplus label. It's a pretty hard-charging techno effort, as you might expect with anything that Matrixxman is involved in, although there are some playful Physical Therapy touches here and there. The song we're hearing right now is called Radiation. Again, this is brand new stuff from Matrixxman and Physical Therapy right here on First Floor.
a beat and don't turn it down.
If you were thinking during that last track, this doesn't sound like new electronic music, well, you were right. That song first came out in 1989. It was part of a compilation called Sweet House Chicago, a collection of music put together by Mickey Oliver, who is a member of the legendary Hot Mix 5. Now, the compilation, it came out on his label, M Records, and it was designed to be a snapshot of the Chicago house music scene at the time in 1988-89. The collection includes tracks from artists like DJ Pierre, Ralphie Rosario, Fortune, and Mickey Oliver himself. The song we just heard was actually credited to Mickey Oliver. It's called I Need a Beat to Turn Me On. As it happens, that song, even though it's credited to Mickey Oliver, was a Larry Heard production. I don't know if it was a favor, I don't know if they were friends, but listening to the track, you could definitely hear the Mr. Fingers, Larry Heard vibes. Anyways, the Sweet House Chicago compilation has now been reissued. It's out this week on the Still Music label. The song we heard was Mickey Oliver with I Need a Beat to Turn Me On. This is First Floor. I'm Sean Ronaldo, and you know what, folks? I gotta get out of here. I show up every Thursday on Red Bull Radio, but they only give me 2 hours to highlight all of the best new electronic music, or what I think is all the best new electronic music. And that time is just about up, so I'm going to leave you with one final song. It's something out of Seattle from an artist who calls himself Simic. He is a member of the Second Nature collective and record label. Second Nature, I have to say, has low-key been one of the best techno labels over the past several years. They don't really promote themselves a lot, but every record that comes out is of a very high quality. Simic, he's done stuff for Second Nature before, but he's also appeared on labels like Acid Camp and Major Problems. This week, however, he's back on Second Nature yet again with a new EP called Atwater Dance. And what we're hearing right now is the title track. It's going to wrap things up for today. Again, I'm Sean Ronaldo. This has been First Floor. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, after today, there are only 2 episodes left of First Floor. When I say we're running out of time, we're really running out of time. So I hope you will come back next week. I'm going to have a fresh batch of new electronic music to share. Until then, this is Simic, the song Atwater Dance. I hope you like it. See you later.